I'm going to go over a few aviation stocks and show you where we are in the big picture. Thank you to Marat for pointing this out. He suggested I make a video on this sector, and he's interested in BA, RTX, LMT, and LHX, so I'm throwing in a few more. And he also wants me to take a look at the Ford PE and pay attention to that. So first up is RTX, previously known as Raytheon. I have a friend that works there. She's an engineer, has been there for many years, so I like to track this one. We ended the day at 82.62, up more than 2%. The 52-week low is $68.56. The 52-week high is $104.91. The 1-year price target is $88.50, which represents a 7% return from where we are. Now, here is where we landed. We are not at the middle of the trend yet. That would take us to roughly $88.98. So that is going to be right in line with the price target. And then above that, should we be so lucky as to get to the next leg up, that is roughly 103.04, 110.07, 116.97. To the south side, 74.92 at support. What happens at support? If we get to this level, I will anticipate a bounce as people buy the dip. If we continue to fall after that, the next target I'm looking at is $67.89. And finally, $60.99. There's a gap all the way to the downside that would take us to $58.45. We are not in that channel. We are not in that zone yet, but something to pay attention to. Note right here at support and the massive rally at support. When we go up from here and here, this turns into resistance, falls apart, back down, and then up again. Taking a look at the Ford PE that Marat wants me to take a look at, and for you to also, when you're deciding when to get in, comparing prices, is the stock cheap in terms of its value? And I'm not talking price as in the retail price of the stock. Now, the Ford price earnings ratio, or PE ratio, shows the relationship of a company's price today to its forecasted earnings per share, EPS. The question answered by the Ford PE ratio is this: how much are you willing to pay today for $1 of a company's future earnings? A good Ford PE ratio falls in the range between 10 and 25, which is also considered a significant PE ratio for stocks in the market. Typically, the average PE ratio is around 20 to 25. Anything below that would be considered a good price to earnings ratio, whereas anything above that would be a worse PE ratio. And RTX's Ford PE is 1568. So that is in the range of a good PE ratio to look for, I should say. And I also want to point out that when I tracked this a while ago, the forecast was 101.67 back in January is the last time I took a look at the actual price target. Wall Street Zen had it at 97. Well, when I tracked it at one point, if I said if you bought in at 88 and you rode it up to this level, that was a 10% return. And let me turn off my magnet. It gets wonky here. If you reach this point, that was a 15% return from here. I like to try to buy in at -2, -3, or -4 standard deviations. You will get the most bang out of your buck. But of course, the stock needs to go up for you to make the money. But from here to this line, the wick there was 143% return. Now, obviously, this was in March 2020 during the COVID period. There was a massive drop. Of course, people were scared to buy in, and those who did were definitely rewarded. The RSI on the monthly, oops, let me make this a little bit bigger, is at 45 with plenty of room to the upside. The RSI got as high as 88, but anything above 70, be aware that price will go down because the RSI is also going down when it happens. Take a look here. It fell down here, 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 here. You cannot expect the RSI to stay at this level without pausing and going down. I just considered the RSI as support and resistance. This is a sell line for me. This is a buy line. Let's take a look at this on the daily, the weekly. All right, plenty of room to the upside here at 48. And we are at 56 on the daily time frame, getting close to this overbought area. Note the bounce here, what I consider support, 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 support. So when you're looking at these levels, I am not a buyer at this level. I don't buy high and sell higher. I buy low and sell high. It's just basic investing. I don't do anything fancy. Let's take a look at this on the, let me go back to the weekly. I'll go monthly, weekly, daily to make it easy. We are still going up. Note resistance here and the sell-off at resistance. Resistance, resistance, down to support, back up to resistance, down to support. And we are making our way to the middle of the trend where price rests before deciding to go to the upside or to the downside. And that's the weekly. Let me show you the daily. All right, not looking so hot on the daily. We are in a downtrend on the daily. We've got this gap, and definitely you want to look at this on the different time frames. It gives you different buy and sell signals. So we are at 58 here. That gap begins at 60 to 68, roughly. And we are let me delete this. It gets wonky when I go to the different time frames. This thing I do not like about TradingView. It's hard for me to move to different time frames without something getting messed up. $82. Oh, let me just do this. It's sometimes easier just to punch it in manually. All right. Okay, and then we've got these gaps to fill. They're not going to fill right away, but they will eventually fill. So if you think that you didn't buy in at the correct time, well, there will be many opportunities. Do not chase, let the price come to you. There are many trades out there. Right, to the upside, we've got this gap. I love my gaps. That will take us to 96.45, which would beat this price target and take us back to this range here where I began tracking this part, the 1 year price target. All right. I did not show you the weekly target. So on the weekly time frame, we are right here at 82.62. To the weekly, 92.89 and 112.64. You can bet there will be a sell-off when we hit this area. To the south side, 72.34. That's just the range I'm going to go because there's no point in going lower just yet because we are not there. I'm just going to take it to -2 standard deviations. -2 to 2, you can be guaranteed you're going to get in that range. Outside of that, that's a little harder. And if you do get outside that range, you better bet price is going to move and flush to the downside as people take their profits and run. And if we're down at -3, that's a buy in and a buy in. All right. The next one I'm going to go over is GE. The forward PE ratio is 4.63. That seems extremely low. But right now we're at 125.94. The 52-week low, 62.65. The 52-week high, 125.98. The 1-year price target, 139.23, which represents a 10% return from where we are. So we are right now again at 125.94. We are nearing this resistance line, so you can anticipate a sell-off when we get there. All right, that would take us to 147.10, 191.50, and 233.76. We are not in that channel, not even remotely close, but I just want to give you the range. And back to the baseline where price will rest before making a move to the upside or to the downside. It'll grind around there for a little bit at 59.92. To the south side, 26.74. Don't hold your breath that we'll get there that low anytime soon. But looking left, note the sell-off at resistance, sell-off, sell-off, and we're getting close. And it'll sell off to go back up again because that's what the analysts are predicting. And note the buy-in at support, support and a bounce, support and a bounce. And we didn't quite make it there, but close enough. Let's take a look at this on the weekly. See how wonky my numbers get here? I have to move it over here. This is the weekly. We are already overbought. I could tell without even clicking this because we are at this line and we are here. So if you're trying to take your profit and get out and you bought down here, anywhere down here, this could be a time because there will be a sell-off, but that sell-off, I don't know how long that's going to go before it goes up again if you think price will continue to go up. All right, the next target, roughly 140.45 on the weekly, 158.37 back to the middle of the trend takes us to 88.32. I'm just going to take it to there because this is not in our range. The daily, nice trend, the upward trend. See how wonky that gets? Then I just have to delete that, but I'll just move it because I'll put it back on the weekly time frame. But here we are on the daily. We are basically at the middle of the trend. 127.72, 139.90, 145.99, and 151.20 should we be so lucky to get to that level. To the south side, back at -2, standard deviations 115.91. I'm going to show you what this looks on the 5-minute time frame. I think I forgot to do that with RTX. That way I can give you some gaps here to talk about. To the north side on the 5-minute time frame for a daily look at price. 126.82, 127.83. Notice I moved over to the different time frame and I lost one of my linear regressions. You know what I'm going to do just to keep this moving fast? I'm just going to give you to 2 standard deviations. If you don't want to pay for an indicator, it's not necessary. If you just play with the free indicators that TradingView gives you, just play -2 to 2. And anything outside of that, just be aware that there's going to be a sell-off or a potential bounce. All right, my target is going to be 126.84 on the 5-minute, and to the south side, 124.83. Watch out for the landmine to the south side that closes out at 121.35. And there are other targets to the south side as well. Let me show you the 5-minute time frame. And to the north side, that takes us to 83.54. Back at the middle, 81.87. Note the landmine to the south side. $81.84 and $80.69. I'm going to move on to HEI, Heiko Corporation, 183.85. We ended at the 52-week low, 149.05. The 52-week high, 191.81. We are nearing there, okay? The price target, nearing that range again, but the price target is 199.08, which represents an 8% return. So on the 5-minute, that takes us to 184.79, 187.63, and 181.91. The RSI is going straight up, not quite overbought yet, but be aware, it looks like we could hit that in a day, which would be Wednesday, since I'm making this video on Tuesday night. Here is the monthly now. We are at 61 on the RSI. I'm just going to show you the RSI on the weekly. Nearing 70. Your spidey senses should go off. Looking left. Here, a sell-off for a correction up. And here, along this line. All right, here we are on the weekly. Your price target is 201.95. Back to the middle of the trend takes us to 174.47. Couple landmines to the south side, and 147.39. And on the daily, we are getting there at resistance, getting to resistance. All right, so anticipate that for a sell-off and then a possible other correction once we hit this line, a bounce, okay? Because according to the analysts, there's a lot of room to the upside, I should say. Now, back to the middle of the trend takes us to 172.63 and 157.77. The RSI getting close to get back getting into that overbought region. So watch out for that. Okay, I'm going to end it right here because the video is getting long, and I will continue to do these in a future video. But because I'm here, I'm going to flip this very quickly to the 5-minute time frame and show you price targets for the next row of stocks there. Right, we are nearly at the middle of the trend, 211.05, 212.36. To the south side takes us to 209.75. For general dynamics, to the north side, this is the 5-minute time frame, price targets for Wednesday, okay? 255.21, 253.76, 252.23. Boeing, 266.07, 272.06, and 260.13. Watch out for the landmine to the south side here. That gets us all the way down to roughly $256.31. TDY, Teledyne Technologies, 432.49, 427.53, and 422.50. Lockheed Martin, that to be a little more precise, to the north side takes us to 451.42, back at the middle of the trend and the baseline, 447.18, 442.93. Northrop Grumman, 469.39, 462.91, and 456.47. And the last one is TDG. Nice little candle there. $1,005.78 to the north side. To the south side, 996.03, 986.09. This stock is in Vanguard's Total Stock Market Index, which I have tracked. But check this out. I just want to show you this movement. All right. Forward PE is 30.02. And when I looked at it on July 2nd, price was at 894.17. I want to show you Boeing really quickly. This is a hot mess, but I am in this trade for my mom. I bought in at 125.45 and here at 186.50. So with this batch, I'm going to ride it out. Wait, is that right? Yeah. I'm going to ride it out to here. The 1-year price target is 265. And if I get to 2 standard deviations, we will be at 375-ish. No guarantees we're going to get there. Something could happen and we could tank just like at COVID. This is COVID. COVID cop out right here. Okay. Price fell. It was a scary time. Price got down to 89.11 there, it looks like, and made our way back up and then to go down again. But it's very expensive right now at 263. I think obviously there's room to the upside, but it's expensive. So there are other stocks to trade if you're trying to get in and get your feet wet. But The RSI and the monthly's nearing this range too. So I would be careful. So I got to decide how much I want to take this up, but I think I'm just going to let it ride for her. This is an investment and I haven't sold yet, but it's something I should be thinking about if we make it here. I'm not going to bank on it making it all the way back to this level, but it could. I don't know, maybe. That, I don't know. Could we hit that area? Or here? Take us to 457 maybe? But this has definitely been a good trade for my mom. I'm very happy with it. All right, what else did I want to talk about? I will go over these other ones on the monthly, the weekly, and the daily and give you other price targets. But when I go through and look and compare prices and different stocks or ETFs, I start with the monthly time frame. And I try to get at 40 and below. And I like to buy when no one else is buying. So if everyone else is excited about a certain stock and it's run up, I don't want it. I go in the opposite direction. I am a contrarian. But of course, these stocks have to be quality stocks that have just been beaten down, that is not in rotation. So I'm buying things that people aren't buying. So I already have my small cap stock, my ETF. I already bought a bunch of things before it ran. And now it's time to sell. So always check the monthly time frame to decide also if you're going to get in, if there's a lot of room for movement to the upside. Then that way you have a lot of room to go up and down and not be tapped out at the top. I can go through 250 stocks on Vanguard's Total Stock Market Index Fund that I have a watch list of individual stocks within that fund, and it can take me literally less than 10 minutes to find out what stock I want to invest in. So the last stock I invested in for my mom is Pfizer. And look at this. We are at 31. I troll for stocks and ETFs in this range, 40 and below. So right now, I am in Pfizer, and now people are starting to talk about Pfizer as well, but it got hit because of some bad news. But just read up on that, and I'm going to end it here. Thank you so much for watching.